It's been over 2 months since the newly introduced league phase came to an end, and we've had enough time to come to terms with the new Champions League format. The league phase had its fair share of criticism when it was first introduced by UEFA, but the new format has given us some of the best Champions League moments in recent history. But with this new format comes the ultimate question: is it better than the old group stage format? Today we'll be going over both the league phase and the group stage formats to see which one is better suited for the iconic Champions League tournament. UEFA made a bold decision with the introduction of the league phase, but was it the right one? Starting with the old group stage format, let's go over the pros and cons as we focus on the positives to begin with. The first thing that comes to mind is the simplicity of this format. You had 32 teams divided into 8 groups of 4, with the top 2 teams advancing to the round of 16. Alongside that, the third place team fell down to the Europa League, while the fourth place team was out for good. It's hard to argue with the facts here, and with such a simple format, it made the group stage appealing for both new fans of the sport and longtime fans who have been watching for years. While some people might say that the group stage was too easy for the bigger teams and made for little underdog drama, that is far from reality. When you look at teams like Apoel Nicosia or FC Basel from the 2011-12 season, or the iconic Ajax side from the 2018-19 season, there are plenty of instances where underdog teams performed well in the 6 games they played. To add to that point, a 6-game schedule feels like a perfect amount, with 3 home games and 3 away games. A sense of rivalry begins to brew between the two clubs, which only adds to the intense atmosphere of Champions League matches. Overall, the group stage was simple and easy to follow, while being fluid enough to allow for some crazy upsets, all while fitting in the perfect amount of matches. But even though it had its moments, it was far from perfect. With the pros out of the way, let's take a look at some of the cons that came with the group stage format. One of the most obvious flaws was how easy it was for certain teams and how they would cruise by in their 6 matches as if they were on autopilot. Some of the most dominant sides that come to mind are Real Madrid in the 2011-12 season, Bayern Munich in the 2019-20 season, and Liverpool in the 2021-22 season. Without taking anything away from how good these teams were, it definitely was less entertaining as a fan to see them absolutely crush their competition in every match they played. Another issue with the group stage format was the meaningless games that were often played on the final match day when the top 2 were already decided. When you look at Group E from 2017-18 or Group A from 2019-20 or even Group H from 2022-23, the group had already been decided by match day 5, which completely erased the thrill and excitement of the final game. The last thing that comes to mind is the repetitiveness of certain matchups over the years, which is more to blame on luck rather than a human decision. Real Madrid and Shakhtar Donetsk faced off against each other in 3 consecutive seasons, and the Spanish side were dominant in almost all of their matches. The same can be said for Liverpool and Napoli, who played each other 3 times in 5 seasons, and while the games were competitive, they did start to get repetitive as well. Whether the matchups were too easy for certain teams, the standings being decided before the final match day, or the misfortune of 2 sides who simply couldn't get enough of one another, the group stage format had its fair share of flaws. Now it's time to talk about the league phase, so let's start off with the good things that come with this new format. The most obvious advantage with this format is the fact that teams get to play against 8 other sides rather than playing the same 3 teams at home and on the road. This sense of variety is very rewarding as a fan, and getting to see teams who have never faced off before is truly a breath of fresh air. Whether it's new rivalries being formed or old enemies who haven't seen each other in years, the novelty of seeing new teams face off is one of the league phase's main selling points. Another good thing about the league phase is the fact that it truly is structured like one big league, and it feels like every point matters. With just 3 points separating 9th place and 21st place in this season's competition, there is so much room for movement, especially on the final match day. You feel like you have a few games to spare, but once other teams start winning, you're forced to perform or you risk losing your spot to someone else. And finally, one of the main talking points of the new format is the knockout phase playoffs for teams who finish between 9th and 24th place. Adding an extra knockout round gives us even more drama and excitement before the round of 16, and I feel like the matchups we saw this season were all exciting and intriguing in their own rights. You can see that with PSG, who finished 15th in the league but now find themselves in the semi-finals, which many people thought was impossible just a few months ago. Whether it's the diversity between teams who play one another, the feeling that every point matters in the new league structure, or the drama of the knockout phase playoffs, the league phase certainly got some things right. But just like the group stage, it came with its own fair share of problems. Moving to the other side of the spectrum, let's talk about some of the negative aspects of the league phase. One of the main concerns is the fact that the top leagues in Europe already have a congested schedule, and adding 2 more matches affects the players even more. Whether it's Manchester City's Rodri, Tottenham's Heung-min Son, or Liverpool's Alisson, many players have expressed their concerns over additional workloads at the top level. More matches equals more money going into the game, which is good if if reinvested properly, but it can be detrimental for some of these players. Another point to add is that more matches doesn't necessarily mean better football for all teams. By matchday 6, 3 sides had already been eliminated from the competition, and by matchday 7, 9 out of the 36 teams, or 1/4 of the entire league, had nothing left to play for. While it's great for the fans of these teams to see their side playing in a Champions League match, it leaves a lot to be desired for neutral fans around the world. And finally, while the idea of all 36 teams playing on the final matchday was good in theory, it didn't change much in the standings. The only movements from matchday 7 to matchday 8 were Manchester City going from 25th to 22nd place and VfB Stuttgart falling from 24th to 26th place. Apart from that, every other team in the knockout phase playoff standings had either clinched a spot in the next round or had to avoid losing any points to remain exactly where they were. Overall, whether it's a congested schedule for players, extra matches that don't mean much for certain teams, or less drama than expected on the final matchday, the league phase has its own set of problems. So, with both the good and the bad of both the group stage and the league phase formats being outlined, where does that leave us? There's a case to be made that the old format made for better football, better underdog stories, and an easier experience for both new and old fans of the sport. On the other hand, you can also argue that the league phase brings a sense of novelty and variety that we have never seen before and makes for more exciting matchups between Europe's elite clubs. When it comes to my personal preference, even I find it hard to choose between the two because they both bring different things to the table, making it hard to compare them fairly. I recently made a poll asking you, the viewers, which format was better between the two. And surprisingly, it was a fairly significant spread, with 30% of viewers voting for the group stage while 70% of people voted for the league phase. Looking back at the video I made almost 7 months ago, the general sentiment was that most people were open to the idea of the league phase and it was generally well received. And now, with the power of hindsight being 2020, it seems like it lived up to the expectations and even exceeded them in certain cases. Overall, while the group stage had its moments, the league phase delivered on most of its promises, and I think it's the best format for this competition moving forward. But what do you think is the best Champions League format? Do you miss the old group stage? Do you love the new league phase? And what in particular has caught your attention this year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more football content, tier lists, and everything in between, and as always, I'll catch you next time.